What's up, guys? I'm going to give you my unorthodox, just layman's view of depression. I'm talking about a lot of different issues, a lot of different angles of this very complex topic. I don't espouse to be an expert on this, but I can say this for sure, that in my life, there's been a lot of my friends who have told me, who were clinically depressed, that I helped them get out of that. So I'm going to put together, again, my totally unscientific thinking and methodology. So if you do have a tendency to feel down, let's just say it, like feeling down, being, you know what I mean, kind of just feeling that low feeling, right? I think this video might be helpful. And if you're not, it's a relevant topic for everybody, because we all have friends that are going through stuff, right? And it's always on our minds. Like when you hear somebody passed away, even, you always think, like, okay, what happened there? What was the details? Because they're not very honest often, what exactly happened, right? Even if it's a famous person, right? Maybe later the issue comes out. But so let's talk about it. I want to talk about I'll tell you what I think about it and what has helped the friends that I have helped. And it's more than just friends. I've helped a lot of people on the channel too who, send me messages, give me credit for it. And I think whether anything cures anything, I'm not saying that. But the thing is, if something helps you, that's fucking pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, I think these ideas in here are pretty fucking helpful. And I just don't think, for a lot of reasons, they're not being either traced back to the source or they're not being espoused. And we could get into the reason why the news doesn't, portray things in certain ways. There's a lot of reasons, advertisers and this and that, like when it comes to food. But there's a lot of aspects of this one. So let's get into it. So the first thing is, I don't know if you guys know, but I'm very, very anti any kind of pills for depression. I think that you should try everything else. And this isn't just for depression. I am the exact same way with any kind of health stuff. I always try to go to the root cause of whatever it is, rather than take a pill. So I will always try to cure myself either by exercise, by eating, by soaking something, you know what I mean? By cleaning, trying to, like I had an infection once that was really bad from a brown recluse spider. Almost had to go to the doctor. I was at Steve's place in what's the city? In Virginia. And he saw my leg. It was like I almost had to go. My leg was like the red. There's these red lines that go up towards your heart when you're basically going to die from the spider, if the infection, if you don't fucking get rid of it. And I was at that point. So I cured this. I cured myself with hot water. But so I take it seriously. And it's not just, it really isn't. And I don't like this thing where, one thing I don't about modern life, I don't like the way certain people can't talk about things. They're just not allowed to. They're not fucking supposed to talk about whatever. You're supposed to stay in your box and not talk about stuff. But the reason why I want to talk about it is I think that a lot of people are being led astray, basically, and being taken down the medical route. And I don't like that. I don't think it cures anything, and I think it fucks them up. So that's just my opinion. But so what, let me get to kind of my basic thinking. So one of the things that affected me the most was not humans, but rats. So there was a study of rats, and they put a rat in a cage, and they gave him cocaine water. So he could just, he would go and drink, and then he would get cocaine, right? Because it would be, it's not the same as you snorting it or smoking it, but it's in your system, right? So everybody knows how that works. And so the rat, they set up two cages, right? So one cage was no toys, no wheel to run on, and they had a figure of the rat's mouse, but it was made of wire, so it was cold and it was metal, and there was no love. It was just these weren't like baby rats; they were just rats. I don't know what age they were, but they looked pretty big. They were pretty decent. Like, I don't know how fast rats get big, but I guess they were probably young, but they were big. Okay, so the rat was in one cage with nothing to do, and a cold mother, essentially, or the best they could, make. And then there was another cage where they put a wheel in there, they put vegetation in there, they put a female in there, and they put good lighting. So it was a good light, like the rat could kind of see around and see out the window and this and that. So they both had cocaine water, and the rat that had no toys drank the cocaine water till he died. And the other rat drank, some of it, and then he basically just got, the best they could observe is that he just got preoccupied with other things, with the female and with the toys and everything, and he didn't, right? And they redid this study many times. So that is very interesting for me, because what could you call that except for rat depression? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what else you call that. That rat was basically had what we, just simple words, and no reason to live. There was not all that color that life has, right? And so he basically had no reason to be here, right? If you don't have a reason, especially as a man, men are really goal-oriented, right? So when we lose our reason to live, it's scary, because we need a reason. That's the whole, you know what I mean? Like, that's fucking pretty important, right? We want to have something that we're doing. Men need that. Men aren't like brainless just running around. We want something there's some kind of goal. It doesn't have to be change the world or anything. It's just like there's something we're doing. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be anything like monumental. But when we lose that, men get and this is what happens in divorce, is that everything, that the guy's goals and everything, and his whole persona and he was going in one direction, that's just stopped by the law. And, suddenly you have a guy without his kid, who only has work, comes home to nothing, just quiet, basically a metal mother, and many of these guys end up taking the rope. That happens. And the reason is pretty obvious. The environment that they were in changed. And that environment was more than things, right? It seeps into the guy's mind, right? And he just felt like, I would assume, you can assume too, we could both guess, presume what went through his mind. But certainly a feeling of hopelessness, for sure, right? And confusion. And probably like all the feelings men hate, basically, which is like that feeling you can't do anything, that anything you do doesn't have any effect, that, men really, like, this is why I think the family courts right now are so evil. I really do. I think this is going to be, personally, I don't know if you guys know, but I think in 100 years, I think they're going to go back and study this period as a dark period, similar to the way they now study the killing of the witches in, was it Eastwick? It was somewhere, I don't remember where it was, anywhere, somewhere in the East Coast. Now we see that as just total foolishness, right? And we can see what happened. I think that the family courts, the way they're treating men, is going to be the same way. I do. I think it's the same thing. It's just absolute demonization and basically deleting of men, essentially, because we know what's going to happen. You take away a guy's like will to live and everything. You take a good man and you just take everything away from him for basically false allegation, for nothing, and then you make him, on top of it, he has to watch everything he earned, his house and everything. I'm just talking about a general divorce here, being used by usually a couple, like some other guy comes in and he's influencing the child, maybe even some kind of criminal activity. Things you have no control as a man once another man's in your house. And I think that there's just a million other things. The threat of jail, the loss of friends, the loss of kind of your daily routine, like especially if she cooked the food, that really affects guys, because all of a sudden if a guy doesn't know how to cook, all of a sudden he's just like eating not as good food, and let's get onto the eating, right? So eating, I believe, and as I really believe, is that a lot of the problems of modern society, and I don't know, probably said it before, but I personally think the reason why society is going crazy right now. I know you guys are a lot of guys are not going to agree with this, but I believe that it's due to foods, ultra processed foods and sugars and all that, all the stuff that we're eating. And I just, here's how I think it happens. Humans always ate regular food before. I'm not going to make a full food episode here, but just think about this. Anytime you see something that's happened for millennium, it's suddenly changed. You have to take notice. You have to say, wait a second. I can't ignore that. Like you have to have some humility and say, you know what? There might have been something we didn't know that was being done that is now not being done, or even damaging, that what used to be good, right? We have to go, wait a second. Now, humans have always eaten like nuts, berries, and meat, and leafy vegetables and everything. And now all of a sudden they're eating like stuff from Chinese factories. Nobody knows what's in it. Chemicals everywhere. And then you look at your own mood, right? When you eat too much garbage, you just don't feel good, right? Well, what happens if you eat that every day? What happens if you're born and your mother only feeds you that? What happens then? You don't know you don't even know what feeling good is like. If you wake up and drink Coke in the morning for breakfast as a 5-year-old, there was a kid recently in the UK who suffocated to death from his own fat on his neck. He was 3 years old. I thought his parents should have got the death penalty. I really did. I thought that was it. If that's not the death penalty, I just don't know what is. I mean, you know what I mean? Like that is just absolute negligence to the point of just, it needs to stop. Parents fed that kid. He's 3. He didn't go to McDonald's. That kid was fed. But anyway, that goes to food. And people even come to summits, and some people, they're like blown away by eating good food for a few days or whatever, and then they go back. But there's more and more guys who realize you only will believe what I'm saying if you eat the way I eat for a year or two. And then I swear to God, you will start to see. And what I cannot describe what I eat. It's just too complicated. I've tried it and people just don't get it. So you got to see me do it. And the guys who are doing it, you got to be there. Go shopping with us. Buy the food. Explain, oh, here's why I got this. Here's what I got that. Let's try this today. It's not based on some pie in the sky shit. It's based on what's on sale too, right? It's like real. It's like a full Ronin style integration, right? I'm not saying go to the health food store, buy this $500 fucking bottle, or, you know what I mean? I'm talking Walmart and stuff. Anyway, so food. So we have people eating food that we know, I know for a fact, if I eat a bunch of crap, I'm going to feel lightheaded. I'm not going to feel good. And I'm going to not have energy in the afternoon. What am I going to do then? I'm going to drink a ton of coffee. I might even want a Red Bull, which I don't drink anymore. But I mean, I would want one, right? Why do people have low energy food, right? So that's one reason for depression. No doubt about it. Fucking food, 100%. Okay, so what happens? Let's just do the logical thinking here. So step 1, humans eat healthy food. Step 2, next stage, they eat total factory-made crap. In a country, most of the factory-made crap is made in China. And it's made in a country where there's very little protection, especially of exported food. Oh my God. I've been to Chinese food factories. Trust me, if you had been there, you would never look at factory food again the same way. It's kind of like that old book, Upton Sinclair, The Jungle. It really changes you when you realize it's not just that it's ultra processed. It's made by people that just don't give a shit. They don't eat what they make. And it's just like, I can't tell you how against it I am, for good reason, So anyway, so what happens? Okay, so step 1, you feel like shit, right? What happens next? Do you sleep well? Hell no, you don't sleep well. Because just think about it. Let's go through the logical step by step. You eat crappy food, you feel like crap. You're tired. What do? You drink Red Bulls, you drink coffee, You do a bunch of things to artificially make yourself have energy. Well, then what happens? Well, the sun goes around, the earth goes around the sun, and it gets dark. Well, now it's nighttime. What do you have in your system? You got a bunch of caffeine and maybe nicotine and God knows what else. So what happens? Does that alcohol, whatever, what happens to your sleep then? Okay. Step one, you're going off the deep end of food that's never been eaten before, never tested long-term, just insanity to go off that with no testing. But anyway, humanity just jumped right off that fucking thing. And everybody's jumping on board. Every country now is copying America, right? Started in America. You know, this is not about Chinese factories. This started in the USA, baby. Okay. Now, other countries took you up on it, but it started in the USA. Okay. So what happens next? You can't sleep. What happens if you can't sleep? So now you're eating crappy food. You're eating food that's untested. You're suddenly changing something that built you to where you are, and just without any thought at all, just throwing it away in the garbage, just tossing it in the waste can, and just randomly eating crap from some companies. Just think of the insanity of that step alone. Think how careful we are with little things in our life. Like, is this flammable? Is this... But no, the whole thing that builds our bodies, we're just like, nah, well, I'm just going to do this whole new thing that just companies are putting on TV, and we're just going to, we'll just eat this other stuff. It'll be the same. It'll be fine. Well, then you have sleep problems. What happens then? What happens? Sleep is really important, right? So you can't sleep. What happens next? What happens next? You need something to fucking sleep, right? God damn, you need some sleeping pills. You need, you might start with melatonin, but you eventually need something, right, to sleep. Now, I'm not saying you get addicted to sleep, but I'm just saying, like, it leads you down a road to something that you wouldn't have originally needed. And again, is just, really, it's a abomination as far as your body's concerned. Just throw in these chemicals and drugs down your system, right? Just randomly, when you don't need to. You don't fucking need to. Okay, so what happens next? You don't feel good in the daytime, right? Because you didn't really sleep as good, right? I mean, what is better, real sleep or sleeping pill sleep? Oh, guess what? Real sleep, right? Everybody knows that. So what happens in the daytime? All of a sudden, you start thinking your gender might be different, right? You know, all kinds of things happen, right? Madness happens because you're basically feeding your body random shit from factories that you don't even know what the fuck, who's there, you don't know what the fuck's really in it. The FDA tests like 1 out of 10,000 or 100,000 foods that come into America. Basically, nobody's testing food. I don't know if you guys know that. I had a supplement business for a very short period of time, and I found out all about it, is that they're not even going to test my supplements. I was like, no, because I was going to make them in China. Now, these were going to be good because I was using 100% resveratrol from Xi'an, and they were 100% awesome. But regardless, I was going to export them, and no one was going to check them. Can you believe that? I couldn't believe that. I was shocked. I thought I had to send them to the FBA or something for some kind of testing. They're like, no, just ship them over, start selling them. And then write the fucking labels. I thought there was oversight. There wasn't. I was totally shocked. Anyway, you would be shocked too. It's like, what? No one's really watching? The FDA doesn't. Maybe they're going to search after somebody dies, or I don't know what their real process is. But trust me, is that you don't need to trust me. Just look into it. Look on Google, what percentage of food that gets imported to America, for example, or Canada, or wherever you live, Africa, what percentage is tested? Chemically tested, fully tested, not just tested for one thing, but tested for safety. It's pretty much zero. Okay, it's kind of like the line in the middle of the road. You feel safe because, why? There's a line painted in the fucking road, so you feel safe. And you just trust that another guy sees that line and he's like, I'm going to drive on my side of the road and I won't drink too much and I'm going to not be too angry and I'm going to stay on that. And it's something that we accept in modern society. Fine. fine. Maybe some things we do have to accept, but there's a limit, right? So what happens when you really start feeling bad? So you're not sleeping, you're not getting nutrition. So many people have vitamin deficiencies. Why? It's so retarded. I had my blood check. I did a full blood, what's it called? There's a word for it. When they test everything in your blood. Like it's a full, it's not a lab. I can't think of the word right now. But anyway, I had that done before I left the States. And the doctor literally looked at me and he's like, what in the fuck? He's like, you're not low on anything. And you're not high on anything. He said, you have no, I didn't have any diseases. I wasn't low on any vitamins. There was nothing. The doctor, I'm 58, I'll be 59 this month. And he said, I have no advice. There's nothing wrong with your diet. He said, you must be taking supplements of this and that. I said, no. He's like, what? He's like, how do you get vitamin D? I said, the sun. He was like, right, sun. Okay. He was a cool doctor, actually. But he was blown away because he's so used to treating regular people, right? So I'm telling you, food and sleep is I think one of the reasons why it's not recommended or is enough or understood. Well, partly because people are impatient and they want quick answers and all that. Why do they want quick answers? Because they're fucking eating, you know what I mean? It's all connected, right? But I think a lot of the reason is there's no money to be made with the advice I'm giving you. All the stuff that you can do totally on your own without any help at all. Now, I think it does help to see people eat and cook. Definitely. There's complications. If you eat the same food all the time, you need variety. You need a mindset for food and cooking. But really, there's no real money in that. Okay? The real money, what is the real money in? There's no money in apples. Okay? There's no money in rice. But there's a fuck ton of money in apple-flavored cookies, right? Or apple-flavored strudel, or apple this, apple that. Apple drinks, apple. That's where the patents come in. That's where the licensing. That's where the franchises. That's where the consistency comes in, right? That's where the money comes in. That's where the niching of your product comes in. Okay? There's just not enough money in real food, and there's not enough money in teaching people how to sleep and be healthy. There just isn't. I'm not saying it's evil. I'm not saying it's a huge conspiracy. I'm just saying, how much time do you have to help people do things that don't make you money? It's just, we all don't, you know what I mean? So society it all adds up, and there just isn't enough motivation. But there's a lot of motivation to do things that make a fuck ton of money, right? And that's what's happening. Okay, so it's not the Illuminati. It's just a combination of humans and time and limitations and fucking logistics of your life and needing to pay your bills. And you know what I mean? It's mundane stuff that ruins these things, that makes them, at the end of the day, kind of evil for a young kid coming in the world. But they can also be understood easily, okay? So, you got, let's go on the other side now. So you eat good, okay? You eat real good food. Now, the problem is most people don't know what that means. I'm really recommending, if you want to learn to eat the Ronin way, come to a fucking summit and come early and stay late. Because you got to see a lot of meals. You got to see a lot of meals before you're going to really wrap your head around it. It is not as simple as you think. It takes not only it takes time, but it also takes intelligence and creativity on your part to eat well without being Bill Gates. That's what I'm saying. Without fucking spending a ton of money, just eating cheaply, reasonably, all times, in every country, without any kind of break where you're losing it. I'm talking about a solution that will work for the rest of your life and fix your problem. Okay, that is complicated. Okay, a little bit, but not that complicated. You can learn it, and you can do it. Okay, right there. You don't need to take Ozempic or whatever. You can do where your body will melt the crap off. It will. It's not going to be super fast, but you can definitely do it because your body is built that way. Your body will work. Okay, don't believe these bullshit artists and surgery. You got to cut your stomach in thirds and You gotta, no, it is not true. It is not true. You can fix your problems. You can. Okay, so what happens now? So on the good side, you sleep well, you eat well. And again, well is something that a lot of people don't even know, and they don't even really know. So I'm saying once you know, okay, you're doing it right, what happens? Well, it's the opposite. You start to have energy. What happens when you have energy? You're healthy, you're sleeping well, you have energy. What happens next? You get restless and you want to exercise. It just all is it's a natural thing. It's like, it's so beautiful, really. It's so ugly one way and it's so beautiful the other way. It's like just so natural. You're just like, I just feel good, I want to get out there. And your wife or whatever, your friends are like, let's just watch 10,000 more Netflix programs. You're like, you know what? I'm just going to go walk. I'm going to go to the gym. Fuck it. I'm just going to go to the gym. You never go to the gym. Yeah, I just feel like going to the gym. And you will just naturally go that way. I'm not saying this is not a 30 days, 90 pounds loss thing. This is a lifetime. It will happen. It has to happen. It's inevitable. It is beautiful too. And that's the way your body was, evolved. I always say designed, but that's what I mean is evolved. Okay? So it'll happen naturally. It'll happen. If you do the right things, the shit will happen naturally. And it's beautiful. Okay, so what happens? I'm just thinking down the other road, the negative road. You eat wrong, right? You don't understand ultra-processed. You're eating ultra-processed foods that basically are stripped of nutrients. You're reading crappy sources of health stuff. You are using kind of like quote unquote common sense that you were raised not eating good food. You don't even know where to start, so you're just kind of like, you're basically grasping at straws, but you're trying, right? What happens? What happens if you try and it never works? You give up, right? You give up. Okay, so what happens? Let's go back to what a man feels. What happens when you give up? You have a goal, you don't reach it, you get confused, you get angry. Now, not only are you not doing, like, you have the mental side where you're feeling down, right? You're feeling like there's a lot of things that you feel down about. One, you look in the mirror, you don't look good. Two, you don't fit into cool clothes. So when you put on your clothes, you're not feeling that self-confidence. Three, you're not getting any kind of like attaboys from anybody, which you can downplay them, but hey, they're not the worst thing. We need something to keep us on track physically, right? Even Arnold Schwarzenegger cuts his shirts in half so that he can see his stomach when he was working out instead of covering it up, because he knew he had to see it, be shamed by it in order to do that final workout to get those ripped abs that he got to be world champion, Mr. Universe, right? So we sometimes need a little bit of that, okay? So you don't get that. So now you don't have your internal goals, okay? You don't have your internal confidence because you're not achieving, right, what you wanted to achieve, your goal as a man. Two, you're confused because you've tried and you're frustrated, right? Okay, and you're still not sleeping good, right? You're still having to take energy stuff to get you through the day, right? You might be, because of all this, it all goes together. You might be making bad decisions, so you might not be reaching your peak of your career too. You might be one of the rare guys who can just kick ass no matter how unhealthy you are. There are guys like that. I've seen that. But a lot of guys aren't. A lot of guys, it's connected. So you end up in a lower paying job or something that's maybe not the best choice for you, just because you just don't have the fucking energy. You know what I mean? You just don't have the time and energy to do the things you need to do, like save money to get back into college or to get that tradesman, license or whatever it was that you wanted to do, right? So you feel bad, you don't get your goals, you don't make as good decisions. Now, where are you? What do you do now? Like, none of the kind of healthy things work now, right? So you're really backed against a wall at this point. So what do? You reach out to basically the people who made you sick in the first place, right? Society. You're like to the doctors and, hey doc, I don't feel good. And you kind of give up on thinking for yourself. You're just like, okay, what should I take? What should I do? And you go down the route of, unfortunately, doctors today, you got to never forget their businesses. They're trying to make money, just like you are. I'm not saying evil. I'm just saying they're trying to make money. They don't want, if you were a doctor, okay, just think about it. Don't blame it on doctors. Just think about if you were a doctor. So you're a doctor, okay, and let's make it a really simple story. You have 10 patients. All those 10 patients come to you all the time for health stuff. So let's just say that they fill your day. Just these 10 patients. They just keep coming back. Let's say 100 or whatever. Okay, they just keep coming back. So you have a receptionist. She gets paid. Your office gets paid. Your car bill gets paid. Your mortgage gets paid. You eat. Everything's fine. Now, unfortunately, there's all these unhealthy people, right? Coming to your thing and doing kind of like they're their own worst enemies. Now, what happens next? Let's just say all those guys start listening to a YouTube channel that recommends they start from the basics of eating, okay? They eat first, right, to fix themselves. What a concept. The thing that you're putting in your body that's making your body, that is literally becoming your body, the chemicals that are the really what your body's made of is the energy that you eat, right? Plants collect energy from the sun, right? And you're eating that. And now these guys are suddenly eating things with a lot of energy, giving them a lot of energy. Now all these guys, let's say there's 10 patients in this doctor's niche in the world. There's only 10. These 10 guys, they all start listening to a YouTube channel, read a book, and they start eating well all of a sudden. Well, one by one, they don't go to the doctor as much. Now, what happens if your business gets a 20% loss? A lot of guys who aren't in business think, oh, no, that doctor, he'd be fine as long as, most of the guys were still going. No, that's not how business works. Business, you have a very small margin of error. You have a profit margin, and it's not that high. It is not that high, including all the risk, all the insurances you pay. At the end of the day, companies like supermarkets, they're making like 2% profit. Seriously, go check it out. And some of them are like 1.25%. There's businesses like steel, supermarkets, and restaurants. They're just like, the profit margin is not what you think. Now, what happens if you decrease the gross income, 20%? Bankrupt. A lot of businesses are just going to be bankrupt because that 20% was all the gravy. You do most of your business just to pay the bills. And it's those final ones that give you that profit in most situations, right? That's how it is. Now, there's these rare exceptions, that nowadays we have these huge, globally massive companies that they have so many businesses in so many areas that at some point, these simple rules that work for doctors and small businesses don't work for them because they're making money somewhere. They might be making money on some, there could be a currency exchange hedge they did that made money one year. You know what I mean? Like, things get complicated when they get global, when they get multinational. But let's just get back to real business and this doctor. 20% drop in sales. If he just in this example, he can't get any new clients. There's no new clients, only 10 for this niche. The guy's going to go bankrupt. He is. The doctor is. So what's he going to do? Is he going to recommend, to the next guy, hey, you should be eating well. You should keep doing that. I mean, he might. There may be a doctor out there who's willing to go bankrupt for the good of society. But there's not that many. A lot of guys, they got to pay bills and eat. They want to live, right? So society is kind of this way. So it's up to us, right? It's up to us to fix the things in ourselves, right? There's nobody that they don't have the capacity even to tell you the truth, right? You have to kind of figure it out and just do it on your own. And you're never going to get any kind of fucking kudos for it. The only kudos I get is the fact that people always look at me and say, God, you look young. You know what I mean? They're like, what the fuck? Now, why do they think that? They think, Or what do they think the cause? They think the cause, most people to meet me, is genetics, right? They're never going to think this guy made good decisions and had discipline for fucking years. You know, no, that's not what they're going to think. They're going to think genetics. So the mystery is never solved in because of our own weaknesses as humans, and also the weaknesses in the capitalist system, and the way things are. Things don't get fixed. Now, how is this related to depression? You guys are probably like, I see. Yeah. So the thing is, man, it's the simple things. So let's get into some more simple things. What else? When you feel good, let's go back to the guy who's just starting to feel good, and he just walked. He took his first walk, or he went to the gym for the first time. And everybody, his friends, are like, what is he doing? No way, that guy never does that. Why? Well, for a long time, he's been eating well. Now he's been sleeping well. He's feeling good. He's got this restless energy. He doesn't want to sit around and watch Netflix anymore. He's changing, right? So he changes. He goes and walks. What happens when you walk? If you've never walked, you feel a little better. And then he walks and says, I'm going to do that again. Goes and walks again. He might be a little sore, but then he's like, you know what? That was worth it. That was pretty fucking awesome. He walks again. And then he says, you know what I mean? At some point, what happens? He might start jogging. You know what I mean? I'm not saying jogging is the perfect thing, but I mean, like, he has more energy. He's going to do more, right? Now, he gets ripped. He starts looking good, right? What happens? He starts being more attractive to the opposite sex and to other people, for business, for jobs. He is no longer as invisible as he was. It's all subtle, but it is all going to happen. It is like the day follows the night. Absolutely, with certainty, this is the path. And there is a good path, and there is a fucking bad path. Okay, he's on the good path. Now, what happens next? What happens after he physically has his shit together? I'll tell you what happens. The next thing, he starts to think about higher level stuff. So it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We have the need for survival and reproduction, right? And then it's like, eventually it's personal fulfillment. So he moves up. If you go, you can look at the pyramid, which is brilliant. It's old, but it's brilliant. I'm not saying it's perfect for today, but it's pretty fucking good. He moves up to a higher need. Something that rich people do, essentially, compared to what he was doing before. All of a sudden, he's got the energy and the time and the need for this higher level thing, whether it's art or whatever. He moves up. He cares about something he didn't care about. Families that are very poor, they have 8 kids, back in the Depression, and 2 kids, 3 kids would die of different diseases, and they wouldn't mourn that much because they would just move on. In fact, parents, there's even pictures of mothers selling their children during the Depression. That recently, Americans sold their kids for like $5. And you look at like sweat factories. It's hard to imagine how far humanity's come in such a short period of time. But it's happened all over the world. And it's not that the people are evil. It's that their level of, as you move up, you care about things you didn't care about before. And one of the things you really start caring about is children. One of the higher level things. You care. Hey, I care about kids, you know? You got your health done. You got your things. You start caring about things like that. But let's go before that. Those are the really high stuff. Let's just go really simple. Most guys, what's the next thing? Career. Goddamn, what am I doing? Am I doing the best thing I could do? Is this the very best thing, right? And they start to think, well, now they've got energy. They're not watching Netflix. So now they're sitting in their room twiddling their thumbs. And they're like, there's that book sitting on the table, Advanced Aeronautics. Whatever it was that they wanted to study, they're like, they pick it up, you know. And they start studying. They start meeting people in that business. They go back to school. They do whatever. And then all of a sudden, they get a job. What happens next? Here's where the magic happens. Here's where depression and stuff like that really starts to go away, just like the rat. And all the little toys in his little cage there, right? Replacing those metal mothers, which is Netflix, right? With something warm and beautiful and love. Men are strange creatures. We really care about what we do, you know? It's almost like we care about certain things, right? And and guys are like, when we start doing things we want to do, there's something inside of us that we're just like, fuck yeah, this is so cool. So we get that job, right? In that where we want to be. Okay? You can't get stuck in the physical. The physical brings you to the energy point of the mental. It takes you up the hierarchy of needs. Just naturally. Okay? So then you get to physical, you get the job. Now what happens with the job? This is even more complicated than just a new career. So now he's working in aeronautics. Okay? He's working with airplanes. He's working with the engineering of, flight. Well, what happens next? Well, what happens naturally is the rat still in the cage with the metal mother? No, he's at work. He's somewhere else. He's next to a bunch of people that now are doing what he wants to do. And he's in an all new environment. It's not just a career. He's now with all different people talking about different things, completely different than he was before, right? Completely. He's in a new environment. And it happened very naturally, right? So now that environment, right? So now he does that for a while. And then he has a higher need. What's his higher need? Now he really wants freedom, man. He wants fucking freedom, man. The guy's like, he sees people with companies, like aeronautics companies, right? Or flight-related businesses, or whatever it is that he's like, I want a business. I want to have more freedom. And he starts thinking about travel and things like that, right? And travel. Wow, we're at that level now. Like real travel. I'm not talking about going to the lake here. I'm not talking about going to the place you've gone to for 20 years. I'm talking about travel, man. Adventure. New things and new chicks. And all completely different things, right? I'm talking about a cornucopia of experiences, smell, sight, and sound that are new and fresh. It's not that they're better. It's that it's all things he's never seen before. It's like a whole neighborhood that was hidden, and he went through a little door, and all of a sudden he found out there was another neighborhood near his house that was all he didn't even know about. And there's something just amazing about that. And they speak a different language here. And everything's different. Well, the chicks are 10 times hotter and sweeter, and things are way better over there. But on top of that, it's just fresh. And it's new. And it's completely a different environment. It is a new cage, okay? In this case, the cage is the world, right? We're all in the cage of the world, right? And that's fine. This cage is a goddamn nice place to be. I'm glad I'm here. I'm not one of these guys who's all excited about going to Mars. I love the fact people are going, but I personally love the fucking Earth, man. I love the Earth, baby. I love it here. I'm outside in the hot tub right now looking at the fucking leaves. They're beautiful. They're red. They're on the ground all around me. I'm looking up in the tree. There's a couple leaves left. I love the earth. I love air. I love it here. Right? And I want to see every aspect of life. Right? To me, that's what it's all about, life. Space is a vast expanse of no life. I'm sure there's life somewhere, and I'd love to see that life. But from what we've seen so far, there's not really life yet. They haven't really found it yet. We haven't been able to visit a garden, on another planet yet. People doing something. Space animals, amoebas running around little wheelbarrows. You know what I mean? We haven't seen that yet, right? I think we will. Fish or something. We're going to find something on Europa due to the volcanic heating up the water and underneath the ice. I know we're going to do it, but right now, there's a lot of non-life out there. And I love life, okay? I love my own life. I love your life. I love the plant life. This is really what I've decided, that this is what it's about, life. I want to be here as long as I can, and I want to see as much of this thing we call life that there possibly is. It's very interesting for me, and there's a lot to see. So when you go up to that level, what happens next, right? This is really unblackmailable level, where you choose where you want to go and what you want to do, right? Because nothing can hold you back. You're not only unblackmailable, but you're not being tethered down by any of the self-sabotaging things you were eating, right? Your body is free to be your friend, right? Time is there to be your friend, to give you wisdom, to allow you to see more things. It's not your enemy anymore. See? So now your vision of the world is that it's a pretty fucking warm, good place. It's a good place and I want to be here. Even if things are happening I don't like, that's beside the point. That's like a great movie that has like an actor I don't like. It's a great movie. You're not looking past, you're not pie in the sky, you just love the movie. There's just one actor or one character, whatever. One plot twist that didn't make, it doesn't matter. You still thought that was a fucking great movie, right? And it's a fucking great life, right? So you beat something not by attacking it sometimes, but by going to the thing that caused the thing that caused the thing, right? So whether you're going to need at the end of the day something, whatever, that's a totally different thing. I can't say that. I definitely legally can't say that, right? And I'm not going to say that. I have my feelings, but anyway, I will tell you this. Go for the baseline stuff, okay? Especially you young guys. Go for the baseline stuff, the basics. Build those things. And in the long run, everyone's going to think you had great genetics. Both for intelligence or whatever it is, everything. And it's going to be impossible to explain it to them because they're not like you. They're not listening. They're not still listening to this video. They're out there and they're in a different world, and that's fine. But hopefully we can reach more men. That is my goal with Ronin Man, is to reach more men.